Hi everyone. This video is a book review about a book that I bought maybe a week or two ago. And the title of this book is The Love Poems of Rumi. And it was translated by Nadir Khalili or Nadir. I don't know if it's Nadir or Nadir, but Nadir Khalili translated this collection of poems by Rumi. Now I know in my last video I mentioned that you probably wouldn't see me for a month or possibly a long while because I have been working my two jobs. I don't really have time to record. I haven't really had time to read. But I really wanted to do something for February. I wanted to do something for Valentine's Day. And I also wanted to review a book for Black History Month. So I decided that I would have to find some books that were relatively short that I could review in time for this month. And so the one for Valentine's Day is this book. Now, over the course of a few days, I'm going to be recording this video. So if you see me in different settings, that is why. I'm going to break the video up into 2 or 3 parts. The first part, I'm going to basically explain the personal reason that I got this book besides Valentine's Day. And then the second part is going to be my general book review, where I talk about the author, where I discuss the book itself. I'm still selecting poems by Rumi that I really like. And I'm also doing a bit more research on Rumi so that I can have, I guess, a substantial amount of information for part 2. So, besides Valentine's Day as the reason that I chose this book, I had my own personal reasons. So one day, not too long ago, I was walking, I think I was either walking to get some cake or I was walking to the library. I don't know which one. I was going to the library and then going to get a snack. And for some reason, I was just thinking about what I thought my life would be like at this age. Right now I'm 36. I keep forgetting my age. I keep saying I'm 37, but I know I'm 36. And by this age, I thought I would have a family. I thought I would have a relationship. I thought I would have something, but it just didn't turn out how I thought it would turn out. And instead of not facing that, I decided to just really dive deep and to really think about it and to think about my personal experiences of love and romance and partnership with significant others. So as I was walking, I thought to myself, when was the last time I was actually in a relationship, an official relationship, not, oh, I'm spending time with you, not, oh, we're just talking. I mean like official, where, hey, this is Kiara, my girlfriend. Hey, this is whatever a space is, my boyfriend or my husband or whatever. And I calculated, and I thought it was 6 years, but I had actually been officially single for 8 years. And I was legit, well, I don't know. I think I was more shocked that it was longer than I had actually thought it was. I kept thinking in my head it was 6 years, but it was actually 8 years. And so I asked myself, well, how do you feel about that? Like, do you remember what it's like to be in a relationship? And that started a whole new unraveling of my romantic experience mentally. Me personally, my romantic style is I can be very romantic. I like being affectionate. I like giving affection. I like giving attention to whoever I'm dating. I'm doting on them, giving them presents, like trying to be loyal sometimes. But when I tried to go back in my mind and remember the feeling of what it felt like to hold a person's hand, what it felt like to just like dote on your significant or a significant other, or claim someone as my person, it was like a mental tumbleweed. Just, it was the feeling that you get when you go back into the house to get something and you immediately forget what you came in there for. So you're just standing there staring, going back in your mind, trying to what was it that I was looking? What was it? What was it? That's how it felt. I felt those feelings whenever I would see couples. I would see a couple, they'd be holding hands, they'd be kissing or something. They'd be just acting like a couple. And when I would look at all these different couples and try to remember that feeling, I would draw a blank. I literally couldn't remember. It was almost like someone speaking to me in a language that I didn't understand. And so, as a result, I just started questioning myself deeper, even the past non-relationships that I had. They're not quite relationships, they're just filling my time or wasting my time type of thing. And I said there has to be a solution. And some people's solutions would be, oh, just change the relationship with yourself. Like, love yourself and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm sure I do love myself to an extent because I try to have certain standards. I don't just date anyone. But being alone, I do everything alone. I shop alone. I work alone. Well, I work alone. I have coworkers, but work alone, go to the movies alone, go to festivals alone, always alone. So I'm used to being alone. So I decided maybe I would have to find activities that would remind me of what I could not remember. And one of the tactics I decided to use was to read love poems, to listen to music about love, just to jog my memory and remind me of the feeling that I used to feel. So this book on Rumi that I have read as of late really captures what it feels like to be passionate, what it feels like to have a yearning for someone, the fire inside of your body when you think about the person that you love, how it feels when you feel that your love has been torn away from you, all of the raw emotions that you would feel with love, and the unapologies that you feel expressing yourself to your fullest extent when it comes for the love of another person. Now, Rumi, the first Rumi poem I ever came across was in the book Calling in the One, 7 Weeks to Attract the Love of Your Life. And I kept going back to the poem because it was so beautiful and very powerful. And every time I would come across a Rumi poem, it was never in a collection, but each poem held the same power. Now, I have read a lot of poetry. I've read the full collection of different various poets, but I've never come across a poet where every poem could stand on its own. Every poem was a masterpiece and had its own raw emotion filled in every line. I've never really come across poetry like that except for Rumi. Yes, there are poets that I like, and I like most of their poems. I might not vibe with all of their poems, but I've just never come across one where each poem is timeless. And now I see why people make such a big deal out of Rumi. I can see, because he honestly went above and beyond himself, where he tapped into the divine source of being, the divine description of love. If I was going to go on a spiritual level, if it was like basically Abrahamic religions or something, I would say Rumi was anointed with the gift of word and the gift of song. Like how he wrote was higher than himself, coming out of his own hand. And when I was reading, it really did help me remember what it felt like when you're in love with someone. And it made me think that maybe I could, I guess, try to feel that again in real life with someone, supposedly. It made me feel like perhaps I should be more not closed off, but take a chance where you open your heart to feel that, because how can you experience love if you're too afraid to go out there and risk yourself sometimes, not like putting yourself in danger, but just taking the risk and taking the chance of expressing it. A lot of us have that, the capacity and ability to do that. We just don't want to look like an idiot. We don't want to look dumb. We don't want to look like we're a fool, or we're so cautious that we don't know when to open up, but we also don't know when to let go. Some people are actually in relationships where the love is not there. It's like beating an empty drum, but no sound. Well, I guess beating, and if it's not a bad analogy, it's just like pouring water into one of those. Is it sieve? I don't know. I'll just call it pasta strainer. It's like pouring water into a pasta strainer and thinking that you're just going to catch all the water. And that's just not. It's not going to be filled. It's just not. I feel that if people had the true ability to love, maybe even the type of people they attract would be different. Maybe the people that they like might be a different whatever. They could be a different race, they could be a different sex, they could be a different belief system. Because you've let go of those boundaries. You've let go of those barriers that separate you from the other person. And I just thought that was very interesting. So overall, that's what I've learned from reading these Rumi poems. It's put something on my mind that I haven't stopped thinking about for ever since I started reading it. So hopefully in the part 2, where I read you some of the poems and I tell you about Rumi and his life, you'll also be inspired and open yourself up to love, or know that it is safe to love someone again, or let someone love you again. So, see you in part 2. everyone. This is part 2 of my video, and in this part, I'm going to be sharing with you a little biography of Rumi and his mentor, as well as some of the Rumi poems that I really liked, and we're going to discuss some of the ones that stood out to me. I went online searching for a really consistent biography of Rumi, but it was just too much information. So I'm just going to share with you the biography that they wrote for him in this book, a little short synopsis. It says, an introduction to Rumi's love poetry. And I apologize if I butcher his name. I'm going to try my best. So Rumi was known as Jalaluddin Muhammad Balkhi Rumi. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was born in 1207 in the city of Balkh, which is present-day Afghanistan. He and his family fled from invading Mongols and settled in Konya, once a small town. It is now a major Turkish city. He lived the rest of his life there, studying languages, science, logic, and Islamic philosophy. He was a respected Islamic scholar and teacher on a steadfast course until the day he met great upheaval in the form of Shams Tabrizi, a Sufi master who came to Konya in 1244. So I'm assuming Rumi was in his 30s, I think, when he met him. I'm assuming, if I'm doing my math correctly, either his late 20s or early to mid 30s. Rumi was drawn to Shams, becoming his student and undergoing a profound transformation. The two spent an abundance of time together, philosophizing and conversing until Shams was sent away to Syria, breaking Rumi's heart. Shams came back only to disappear again, this time forever, and this separation was to Rumi a manifestation of divine heartbreak. While he felt pain and separation, he took great joy from union. He knew that while he felt pained, he was never really separate from Shams or God. It was all this love, heartbreak, and longing that turned his soul to poetry. In his life he created 65,000 verses, many of which are the Rubaiyat, or quatrains. I've come across Rubaiyats, I guess it's the same form, just a different spelling, and they're very beautiful poetry. I also knew a girl named Rubia, so I'm wondering if the name Rubia also has a connection to the poetry form Rubaiyat, or Rubaiyat. His poems are recorded by his students as he recited them while whirling in the ecstatic dervish dance. The poetry was collected into 2 books, Diwani-e-Shams I Tabrizi, the collected poetry of Shams, and Mathnawi, spiritual couplets. Rumi remained a beloved and respected mystic throughout his life, and countless readers today consider him to be the very best Persian poet of his age, or any age. He reached what we call the roots of the roots of the roots of the divine, meaning that his poetry captures a crucial aspect of Islam and many other religions, which is that people can find bliss and freedom through pure love. This collection of his love poems are gathered from the non-literal translations of Nadir Khalili. Now, who is Nadir Khalili? The man that translated this. It says it in the back of the book. It says Nadir Khalili, 1936 to 2008, was a world-renowned Iranian-American architect, author, humanitarian, and teacher. Khalili was also the founder and director of the California Institute of Earth Art and Architecture, Cal Earth. Um, he was raised by the poetry of Rumi. As a child, his grandmother would recite Rumi's poetry to lull him to sleep. He later developed a passion for studying and translating Rumi's works. Rumi's poetry also became an intrinsic part of Khalili's architectural career. Inspired by the mystical poetry of Rumi, his architecture was distilled from the timeless principles of this universe and its timeless materials, the elements of earth, air, and water, and fire, and has been described as poetry crystallized into structure. So I did a little bit of research on Shams. I was actually trying to see if the nature of the relationship between Rumi and his mentor. I didn't know if it was a deep friendship or if there was a romantic component to their relationship. But from what I've read, it doesn't seem like they had a romantic relationship. It was just a mentorship, friendship that was so deep that it was like soulmates. So sometimes when people think of soulmates, they think of soulmates more in the romantic sense, but soulmates aren't always romantic. Sometimes they can be your parent. Sometimes they can be like your teacher or your friend. It really just depends. It's just someone who connects with you on the soul level. Now, this book, it wasn't published that long ago. It was published in 2015, so it's a little over, it's about 11 years old, and it has beautiful, beautiful graphic design. I don't know if you can see it, but throughout the book, there's all the patterns that you would see, I guess, from Rumi's culture. I really love the art. Even if you don't read the poetry, it's just nice how they laid out every poem with a beautiful background and design. I wonder who was the graphic designer, actually. I never... It was published by Wellfleet Press. Hold on, let me plug up my computer. Yeah, it was published by Wellfleet Press, and the book design and illustration is by Evelyn Kosikov. It was printed in China. This book has 3 parts. There is Dancing the Flame, Fountain of Fire, and about the translator. So I guess it's technically would have 2 parts. So Dancing the Flame. In this chapter, I wanted to share a couple of poems that stood out to me in this particular chapter of the book. And I don't know if these are actually the poetry titles or if the translator just gave the poems titles, because the titles of the poems, I don't know if you can see, the titles of the poems are usually a line in the poem, so I don't know if Rumi actually named his verses or if people just gave them names themselves. This one is called All the Precious Words. All the precious words you and I have exchanged have found their way into the heart of the universe. One day they'll pour on us like whispering rain, helping us arise from our roots again. My sweetheart. My sweetheart, the idol of ecstasy, sat by my side, filled with nirvana, embracing the silken string harp, playing the tune, I am happy and I am here without me. What I like about some of these poems is he creates such imagery. You could actually almost see it. Whatever you imagine in your mind, like where it would be. When I'm reading this, I'm imagining two people sitting and one is playing a harp. He's very descriptive. You can almost hear the music that he's writing in his verses. You are the letter. You are the letter written by God. You are the mirror that reflects the divine. Seek inside, for all you want is all you are. There is nothing above and beyond. All I've asked from you is you and you again. From your love, I've already spread our feast. I don't remember what I dreamt last night. All I know is I woke up drunk. What I notice about some of his poems is that when he's talking about love, some of the poetry expresses love as he's intoxicated like a wine, or he's abandoned his faculties and is like a madman being encircled by the rush of love. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I came to this world. This one I really like. I came to this world riding a horse named Love. Every night is bright with ecstasy and delight, since in my religion the intoxication by pure wine is allowed, and you will never see my lips gone dry. God will renew your life. God will renew your life when this one is done. Your essence remain when the perishable is gone. Love is the water of life. Step inside. Every drop of this sea holds the promise of a different life. I don't really need wine. I don't really need wine to get drunk. I don't really need music to feel delight. Without a wine pal, music and dance, I'm intoxicated, happy, and gone. You finally filled the world with happiness. You finally filled the world with happiness. The earth and the sky are thrilled. No one is complaining anymore except the unhappiness, since you broke everyone free from its chains. Sometimes his description of love sounds like an actual person, and other times it just sounds like a concept or an idea. Some of his verses, I feel like he's actually talking to a person, and there's other verses which feel like he's talking to nature or God. But it works. If you're a seeker, find the company of seekers. If you're in love, sit by the gate of those in love. When you've experienced it all, then leave the humans alone. Take the company of no one but God. As I was reading some of these poems, I went back a deep dive into my mind of if there was a time in my life where I felt a connection with someone, a very deep, deep connection, but not a romantic one. And I honestly believe it was with one of my friends that I haven't spoken to in about 2 or 3 years. Me and him would talk every single day. And we would talk about traditional Chinese medicine, history, spirituality. It was almost like somebody put me into the body of this dude, but we were different enough where I didn't develop a romantic feeling for him. I think he was romantically attracted to me. I feel like since I didn't have romantic feelings for him, that's how I could get this close to feeling that connection. When I say that this was really probably one of my soulmates in the friendship form, this guy, we had, I guess astrologically speaking, we had the same 3 signs in the same 3 houses, and whatever happened to him would happen to me, or whatever would happen to me would happen to him a few weeks later. We would have similar dreams. We were both born in August. And it was just a very deep connection. Like, I felt I could express myself. I felt that I could understand where he was coming from, but for me, it was just a friendship. So when I read about Rumi and his relationship with his teacher, that was the first relationship in my life, or friendship or whatnot, soulmate level relationship that came to my mind. Because sometimes when we would talk, it just felt like this person understood exactly where I was coming from. I didn't feel like I was being gaslit. I just felt an understanding, and they were always there for me when I needed them. And sometimes I almost wish I had liked them, but I just didn't happen. I don't know. I don't know if it was because, like, they were of a different race. Because he was a white guy, and I don't know if I'm not usually attracted to white guys, and maybe that's why, like, I don't know. I just I only dated like one white guy in my life. But our friendship, I felt, transcended race. Like, I didn't mind that he was a white guy because we had this understanding of each other. Like, sometimes when you have love, not just romantic love, but friendship love, or the same passion as somebody, like, let's say you're involved in some type of mission, like you might be in a mission where you're trying to find a cure for something, or you might be in a mission to feed hungry children, or something where you're trying to dedicate your life to a certain belief system, whether it's Catholicism or Buddhism or something. Sometimes you'll feel that feeling. I don't know. And it doesn't matter if the person is a different race or a different sex or a different age, or whatever, because you have a soul understanding of each other, and all boundaries kind of disappear. I think sometimes we set up boundaries to keep us safe, but sometimes boundaries and stipulations can limit us from fully connecting with people on a soul level. And I honestly feel that's probably what happened. And it was really on my part, honestly. Like, I'm pretty sure if I had an attraction to him, we would have been married or so. But I really don't know. I haven't spoken to him in 2 or 3 years. But he's still in my heart. I still care about him. Love is what makes people happy. Love is what justifies our being. I was given birth by the mother who is called love. To that mother I bestow 100 blessings, 100 cheers. And there's a couple of poems that are like, love is. All those in love are ready. All those in love are ready to lose both worlds in one stroke, let go of 100 years of life in one day, travel 1,000 miles to experience a moment, and lose 1,000 lives for the sake of one heart. I actually feel like I felt this way about a person because I do feel like I gave up so much for this person. Like this poem in particular, it reminds me of a specific ex I had. And I really, when I say I tried all of my might with all of my passion and all of my heart, it just, like I was literally ready to just lose it all. I was literally ready to just make a complete fool of myself just so he could understand where I was coming from. Like, I didn't really emotionally regulate myself, and I would just like cry and grab him and beg and blah 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 and like don't go, and yeah. And my most recent experience was probably with the guy out of town, where I kind of was like, I'm ready to give it all. But that feeling's kind of like after I was going through that same experience with this dude out of town, I realized I was just doing a repeat of the relationship I had with my ex. And so I decided to just emotionally detach from all of it and choose myself. So yeah, I still talk to the guy out of town, but the level of attraction and passion and investment that I put in him, it's just not the same. I kind of care, but I kind of don't care anymore. So I relate to this poem. I would be with this most recent person, I would like send them presents. I would go there. I would talk to them every day. I would give them attention. I would give them support and encouragement. And then one day, I blocked them. So the only reason we're talking now is because they contacted me. But this base level that I feel now, I honestly, I kind of feel something, but I really don't. Because there's a fine level between giving your passion for somebody who reciprocates it and just pouring into an empty vessel. Then at a certain point, it becomes toxic. That's why you see some people actually go insane, because they've become a prisoner of a one-sided toxic love or love. And I feel hopefully the person Rumi's talking about in this poem reciprocates the love that he gave, but is a very good description of how some people express the lengths that their love will go. There are some people who literally will give their life for the person that they love or the cause that they love. That's why you see like martyrs in history or religions like the Christ giving his life for, I guess, the sins of the world. That would be a version of love, or people giving up their lifestyle because they love their belief system. Like they'll completely devote themselves and never get married or never have children, have a vow of chastity, give up relationships, give up money, and live as a beggar for their whole life because they love the belief system that they've dedicated their life to. Whenever you are in love with something or someone, usually something else is sacrificed to invest that extra energy into that which you love. You just have to make sure it's something or someone healthy. This one I really liked because it sounded kind of creative. Fallen in love with you. Fallen in love with you, I will take no advice. I have tasted the poison. What good can sugar do? They say he is mad and in chains. He must be. Mad is my heart. What is a chain on my foot? So yeah, that's the first little chapter. I think those poems were pretty good. There's another section which I have to look. Fountain of Fire. So the next section is called Fountain of Fire. And these poems in here are a little bit longer. They're longer verse. So I'm going to read you maybe one or two because they're very long. Which one's the one I really liked? This poem is called I Was Dead. I was dead. I came alive. I was tears, I became laughter. All because of love when it arrived. My temporal life from then on changed to eternal. Love said to me, you are not crazy enough. You don't fit this house. I went and became crazy, crazy enough to be in chains. Love said, you are not intoxicated enough. You don't fit the group. I went and got drunk, drunk enough to overflow with lightheadedness. Love said, you are still too clever, filled with imagination and skepticism. I went and became gullible, and in fright pulled away from it all. Love said, you are a candle attracting everyone, gathering everyone around you. I am no more a candle spreading light. I gather no more crowds, and like smoke, I am all scattered now. Love said, you are a teacher, you are a head, and for everyone, you are a leader. I am no more, not a teacher, not a leader, just a servant to your wishes. Love said, you already have your own wings. I will not give you more feathers. And then my heart pulled itself apart and filled to the brim with a new light, overflowed with fresh life. Now even the heavens are thankful that because of love, I have become the giver of light. I feel like Rumi's poetry is best set to music. If I had to choose an instrument or a couple of instruments that could be played with his poetry, it would be a harp, specifically a harp, a guitar strumming softly, a piano, or a violin, or perhaps a flute, because I feel like his poetry is so musical, it just needs an instrument, or it needs to be read in a place out in nature during a sunset or a sunrise or by a burbling brook. I feel that his poetry should be shared with everyone because it captures that universal feeling, the feeling of when your heart is broken, the feeling of when you have the first flutters of a first love. And as I stated in part 1, I wanted to remember what it felt like. And the poetry of Rumi really helped me to remember. And I think it also helped me to have healing and closure. It made me look back at just the past of my love life and really see how I've grown as a person, and think about the people who've passed through my life and just see it full circle. Because at that time, when my heart would be broken and all of those different things, it took a while to get over. But I'm actually glad these experiences have happened, so that the next time I somehow get love or whatever, I'll know how to cherish it, or I'll know how to accept it whenever it's offered, and not be so closed off and build a wall around myself. Just open my heart and not be afraid. And I think love for most people is easy, but I also think that love is a practice. Love sometimes requires a sacrifice of the old, or a sacrifice of the parts of yourself that really don't serve you anymore, or an opportunity for you to try something different, try a different path, or take a break from one certain type of love. Like maybe some people, since Valentine's Day is coming, maybe some people, they're like, I'm obsessed with the romantic love. Maybe you could transfer that love into your passion, your talents, helping the causes of humanity, being the mentor to a child, saving an animal or something. There's so many ways to express it. Or if you don't want to do that, you can spend your time just healing yourself and developing yourself and really figuring out what you want. So when the love shows up, you'll be ready to accept it, or you'll be ready to go out and find it. Because sometimes people say the love will find you, but sometimes you have to go find it. Like what if the whole lesson is, instead of waiting to be sought, you become the seeker, to bring it to you and draw it to you. And perhaps as you are in your seeking process, you develop the gifts of the journey. But yeah, I really liked this poem, this poetry book. I'm definitely going to get more of this, because they have 2 other books, the spiritual poems of Rumi and the friendship poems of Rumi, and I think it would be nice to add to my collection. So thank you everyone, and I will talk to you later. Bye bye.